I did not want to leave the academic system. But the thing is, in order to not leave the academic system, you have to be incredibly organized. And then I realized, in order for me to do a postdoc, I need to be making applications, I need to be finishing up my thesis, I need to be writing up for grants, I need to be applying for visas, I need to be doing so much. I don't know where I'm going to end up, what my life is going to look like, but it was not possible for me to do all those things at that time. It was hard for me to even just survive on a day-to-day basis.
Hello and welcome everybody to a new episode of Your Friendly Physicist and Other Nerds, your science podcast where scientists speak about their fantastic research, their visions, dreams, challenges and their daily life in the fabulous world of science. My name is Lucas, I'm your friendly physicist, and today we have a special guest. We did our PhD together in Munich at the Technical University, and finally we're sitting together on a table with microphones, and it's an honor to welcome Shambhavi, or just short, Sana. So hello and welcome, Sana.
Thank you so much, Lucas. I'm very, very excited and so pleased that we're finally doing this.
Likewise. It's an honor. So let me shortly introduce you. You studied Bachelor in Chemistry with honors from St. Stephen's College in Delhi, in India. After that, you did an Erasmus Mundus master program at the University of Rennes in France and at the LMU in Munich in Germany. There was a master's in Material Sciences, exploring large-scale facilities. Very impressive. And afterwards, you did a PhD at the Technical University of Munich, including a doctoral fellowship at the Advanced Light Source in Berkeley in California. And after you finished your PhD, you left for industry, and that is also the topic we want to focus on today. So how was the transition from academia to industry? What were the challenges, what questions arose, and I think, this might help some people out there who have similar questions, who are also asking themselves, is academia a good choice for future career, or should I go to industry? So, but the standard question first, everyone has to answer this question on this podcast because it's named Your Friendly Physicist and Other Nerds. So I am considering myself definitely as a nerd. Would you consider yourself as a nerd?
Oh, wow. That's actually a pretty funny question because when I think of how I would characterize myself, it's hard to choose adjectives, but I guess if being a nerd is about being able to engage in some sort of topics that are around you in your regular life and that you're intensively investigating, so much so that you internalize them and you can use them in like regular references with other people who kind of get them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you share this sort of very specific and personal humor or references, then I guess I would say, yes, I am a nerd, and I would say that any person in any sort of given community that shares like very specific sets of information with their friends or colleagues or whoever they're around would probably also consider themselves nerds.
Absolutely.
Yes, so hashtag we are all nerds.
Exactly. This is, let's unframe nerd as something negative. I think it's a very, very cool thing to be, because you get immersed into topics very, very deeply.
Yeah, but also on the other hand, if you're not a nerd and if you do not have like any sort of specific communities where you feel that you share like this sort of personal private references, I also think that's not like a bad thing or anything. So let's say that it's not like, it's cool if you're a nerd, but it's also cool if you don't want to engage in these very like, it can also feel exclusive, right? Like if you're in a specific sort of nerd circle or a nerd set, maybe people from the outside feel that, I'm not really part of it, and they might feel discouraged, especially if you do not kind of transition them into that circle, right? So I think like being a nerd is cool, and especially if you can share your nerdiness and kind of expand it and help use this deep knowledge that you have about something to other things and to other people, that has a lot of value, and I guess that's a form of outreach.
So let's all be social and inclusive nerds, basically.
As much as you can be. I think being inclusive is special because it helps expand our values, and it helps expand ourselves in that process. And but it's okay if you want to be exclusive and you want to feel like an in club, then that's your thing.
That's your thing.
Yeah.
Cool. So that was a very detailed answer why you are considering yourself a nerd. Appreciate that. So let's dig into our today's topic. Maybe a first question: why did you decide to do a PhD after your master's, not directly go to industry? Maybe that would be a good start for this topic.
Yeah, well, actually, I guess I was about how old was I? Was I 22, 23 when I first...
23 starting a PhD, so
young. 20, I think I started in 2017, so I guess I was 24,
okay.
Yes. And, wow, I'm giving away my birthday and stuff, but anyway, I was about 24. I was quite... I'm not to say that I was quite idealistic back then, and I'm no longer that way, but... I had just finished my master program, and I had been part of this research group where we eventually met, and it was the first time that I had this long period of time to work on a scientific topic for about a year, and really be able to apply my personally grown and cultivated ideas into a thesis, in the sense that for the first time ever I felt the independence and agency and the creative power to do something that felt new. And during that time I learned from all of these people that were around us, especially the people who had been more experienced. You would always look up to them because they were when you're young and you have all these people who are so knowledgeable, you aspire to be to reach that level of knowledge. So I kind of looked up to all these people who were doing PhDs and just were so cool, It just seemed like that's cool and I'd like to do that. And back then, industry, I have to say that industry did not hold that level of appeal for me, but it might have been because the circles that I was in or I was hanging out in were mostly people that were from academia. So maybe there was a sort of bias in there. But anyway, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And I have to say that the research group that I was in was just so cool, We just did so many fun activities together. And
the research group during your master's or then during your PhD?
During the master's, I did my thesis in the group of Professor Müller-Buschbaum, which is the group that we were in. And as you know, this is quite a large, diverse, multicultural, and sort of socially diverse group as well, in terms of there are just so many wide range of things that you do. It's not like everyone is only hiking or doing music. So there was just a lot of different kinds of personalities in there. So it just felt like a ground of experience while cultivating, while acquiring this level of knowledge and being able to of course it was giving knowledge to the scientific community, but it was also oh my God, I have these ideas and I just get to test them out, and wow, it actually, wait a second, there's these interesting results, and I get to make a theory out of it.
That was definitely a very cool experience during the PhD, that you're finally not only recreating data from some practica lab course or whatever who have been done 1,000 times, but you can do really something new and expand the knowledge of your field, and that would also be the reason why I choose to do a PhD in the end.
Absolutely. And the thing was that it wasn't that what I did was like so groundbreaking, like I discovered gravitational waves or something, but
maybe just for the context, so the chair you did your master thesis and then the PhD was the chair of functional materials at the physics department at the TU of Munich. And maybe just roughly, I mean, what you did in your PhD was basically improving materials for some kind of solar cells, I would say.
Yeah, that's correct. I would say that it was my PhD was about developing some form of fundamental understanding, and I know that the goal is not to get too pedantic, so I'm going to try and generalize this a little bit over here. But essentially, what we were doing was we were mixing different sort of elemental compositions for this class of materials which are known as hybrid perovskites, which have application in a wide range of optoelectronic technologies, especially solar cells, LED lasers, sensors, and it's like a very wide and versatile set of materials. And the thing is that what was really cool about this material is that they were kind of acting in between different sorts of properties. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they would exhibit properties that were very specific to metallic sort of conductors. Yeah. And then on the other hand, they were also being very soft, you know. That is a sort of that was a novel sort of behavior, and I was sort of interested in this novelty. I was especially interested in this soft matter sort of behavior in which the material had so much freedom of expression. And my PhD was about trying to I'm sorry, I know that this shouldn't be so long, but
no worries. But basically you contributed to develop next generation solar cells.
And
the cool thing, because this also closes the circle to what you said before, I mean, I think it's a perfect topic for a PhD position, because it's a novel material, it shows novel properties, and you have not only the material has some freedom to behave in whatever way it behaves, also you as a student has some freedom, because finally you have 3 or 3.5 or 4 years of time where you can really dig into this topic. And this is also maybe then closes the loop to the very first question. I mean, this is being a nerd, digging into these materials in so much detail. I mean, you developed such a crazy expertise on this tiny niche. Okay, perovskite solar cells is not a tiny niche. There are super big conferences on that, but still you are one of very few people on earth who know so much about this thing, and this is something very cool about a PhD in my opinion.
Definitely. And I kind of just want to put like a little context on this. I feel like different people that would have done the PhD on the same topic would get very different insights from their experiments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe some people are more of an analytical bent. Maybe some people are more of a theoretical bent.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are more, you can have very different sorts of insights from similar things that you do. And I think what was really special about a PhD was that you were working together with so many different people.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that,
Absolutely. And you would know so much about it because you collaborated with so many research groups on different topics, with so many different applications. And that was kind of like a widening of your, let's say, scientific worldview. And that was special because it was like I was sitting with an engineer, let's say during my beam time in Berkeley one time, and we were just kind of looking at this in situ data that was coming on the screen, which was like constantly changing. And he looked at it. This is an individual called Jonathan Slack, who is one of the brightest and most inspiring minds that I have had the honor to talk and collaborate and learn from. And he just looked at this data that was basically these images, and he was like, oh wow, that looks like there's a bird that is in transition that turns into an egg, and then that egg is solidifying.
This is absolutely legit first analysis of the data.
Absolutely. And I would say that kind of just made the entire experience so much more interesting, because I felt that I had sort of an experienced eye that kind of not make me see such novel things, but to an outsider who was seeing it for the first time, it was just so crazy. And it kind of made me change my view and look at the data in a different way. And I kind of wanted to take the analogies that he placed, because I was like, that's an untrained scientific view, like it's not gone through all literature. It's like what is sort of emergent. So I was like, I want to use that insight and see how that can probably be applied into theory.
It's extremely valuable. If you have someone who looks at your data the very first time, and you're stuck on this data for half a year or several months or whatever, and he just comes, hey, it looks like a bird, and then it looks like an egg, and you was like, actually he's right. There's something happening there. Why didn't I see that? And then maybe the problem is not solved, but you get one step. You get a new perspective on that, and you get collaborative. Then you get to the final analysis, or at least one step further. Yeah,
and even if you don't get one step further, what is like, it's interesting again, It's like you're no longer stuck in the rut. It's like, oh, that's an intriguing way to think of it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, so that was just to say that different people would bring in different things to a PhD, and everyone's experience is going to be unique, I wish that I had been, I think you'd always feel this way. I felt like looking back at my PhD, I was like, I could have worked harder. I could have done more, I could have developed more skills on these things, and I could have practiced this more, and I could have been more disciplined.
There's always more. There's always something more you can do, reading more paper, writing one more paper, going to one more conference.
Yeah, but
this one workshop, this one skill.
The thing is that you feel so close to what you did that you feel like, if I also had all of these other abilities, I could have maybe done more. But of course, these things are time limited, as you have mentioned, and as you have discussed in various forms earlier. These scientific positions during PhD and postdoc, basically even almost like before you get permanent positions or tenure, there's like this level of uncertainty.
This could be a whole episode on its own. Maybe we could do that on at one time. But I'm
sure that you have a lot of insight into that, but I just kind of wanted to allude to this fact that it is a journey. It is a time-limited journey. And
it's a unique journey. Very important. And the outcome of every PhD journey, in my opinion, you cannot. Of course, you measure it, with papers, citations, reads, indices, whatever. But actually, the outcome you should not measure with numbers. The quality of a paper, I'm not sure. If it's a very niche topic, then of course it doesn't get so many reads or so many citations like sustainable solar cells, whatever.
There are these cooler topics like machine learning for material discovery, like all in the future. I'm sure that there are just going to be like some topics which are more influential and more in vogue, but that doesn't have to say anything about the inherent value of that field,
about the quality of your work, even if you worked on a niche topic.
It couldn't even be niche, it could be anything. Could be anything.
Combined that with this limited contracts you have and the uncertainty you have makes it really hard to really deliver a good performance, or to really feel well in one's topic sometimes. So this is really one big disadvantage of the academic system, in my opinion, because it limits the creativity, the quality, the innovational power of the students who do work there. And this is a pity.
I would say that maybe some people would say that, if you're coming from one sort of ideological section, you would say actually this promotes creativity, because you're like, oh, this is all the time that I have. But on the other hand, I also feel that there is...
This argument, by the way, because I just read a book about this, is scientifically not proven.
No, absolutely not.
So it's always the argument
I don't know about it.
It's always the argument about the big guys. You don't need to gender here, because basically, or most of them are really guys, who have a permanent position. The argument of them is we need these limited time contracts, because only then we have enough fluctuation, and this creates innovation, this creates creativity, and this is just a bold assumption. There's no solid fundament here for this argument.
I think it's like this influx of let's say scientific labor or any form of creative labor that is I guess it's more profitable in terms of performance for you to have a limited time, and then use whatever you did in that limited time to be given opportunities in the next phase of another limited time competition.
Exactly.
And then I feel, we say that you shouldn't really compare your experience with other people. But the thing is, if the system is kind of built that way, that inherently you're rewarded for doing some things rather than the other in terms of, say, some form of metrics which are measurable, then it becomes hard to actually apply that sort of ideals to, reality. But here I kind of want to emphasize that it is very important that we have recognized that this is a shortcoming of the system that we are in, as the generation that is going to carve the ideology and the sort of philosophy of our field in the future, that we must take action to counteract it. Of course, it's great that we have these conversations, but these conversations require to be translated into actions. Not just what do you call them, like these are our ideals or whatever as an institution, and this is our whatever. So you have to take action, and you have to counteract the action which perpetuates the current system, right? And
fully agree.
That seems like a hard problem, but honestly, whenever I think of hard problems, I think of, if you manage to put a person on the moon in 1969 or whatever year that was, Nothing is impossible, right? You just have to commit to it. You have to put in all the resources that you're putting into the other ways of being, and then nothing is impossible.
It's a very large gap, in my opinion. Of on the one hand, we have technical quantum leaps and putting man on the moon or on the Mars or soonish and whatever, and on the other hand, we sometimes behave like with each other and treating each other like we are in the Middle Age. So this is this is a very big problem, I would say, as well. And probably takes a very long process. It's very time consuming.
Actually, I think it wouldn't. It's just that the barriers that are placing forth the resistance have too much power, and there has to be power redistribution. And what that means, it comes not just with positions, it comes with funding, it comes with security, it comes with access, it comes with continued support, even if you're let's say unable to do the things that are expected out of you because of your unique condition. The fact is, everyone's going to have different ability, and everyone's going to have different circumstances in their lives. For instance, we worked together with a friend of ours who had a baby at her home, right? And she had responsibilities beyond what we did. I am aware that there are certain institutions that make more accommodation for such circumstances, but maybe they're just reserved for if you're a professor there or if you're a staff member there. I don't really know, like, if you're a master student or a PhD student which has specific needs, how much the university really does for you right now. Maybe it was because we were at the Technical University of Munich, where most of the colleagues of ours were predominantly men or whatever, but I felt like in our department, for instance, maybe it would have been different in different departments, but in our department we had this special chair that was led by this resource group, which was led by Dr. Christine Papadakis for the women in the department. But the fact is that they were starved of resources, they were starved of staff, they were starved of anything that would actually enable them to do what they could. So they were constrained by the structures not really enabling them to do what they'd like to do. So we talked to Dr. Papadakis about a web page that was present on the physics department website that was outdated and had some sort of default text in it. And then she invited us, saying, yes, please, if you're able to, please come and join us and help improve this. And then we realized, actually, you know what? I want to do this, but we're already on like 50% contracts.
50% contracts.
You do not have enough time.
Such a high amount of work, and
you're paid only for 3 years, and after that, if you need more time, then you're unpaid and finishing off your PhD. Where do you find the time to do other things?
The time and the energy and the effort. And I mean, if you experience such treatment, why should you be motivated to give even more to something? If you don't get anything out. I
have to say that we did have friends and colleagues, for instance, Dr. Franziska Löhre, who went above and beyond to contribute to the well-being of the student body that was present as the student graduate. What was it called? Graduate member,
PhD committee,
something like that. And they were actually always asking us for recommendations and things to do. So she volunteered her time.
Which was not very beneficial for her PhD.
Direct PhD work.
Direct PhD work,
Absolutely.
Scientific work. And in the end, I mean, of course, she developed soft skills while doing this. Yeah, this is something for sure she will benefit in the future. But this pen on paper results she got in the end, there were nothing beneficial from that for your scientific work directly. I would say. And
so
this is really
the scientific work wouldn't recognize this sort of effort that she placed, and not just she. I know that there are several people in these committees, and some committees are less demanding than others. For instance, we were part of a committee, a student board at the Nanosystems Initiative of Munich, in which we had representatives from 5 different universities that formed this cohort.
And that was quite fun, actually. That was a very non-demanding committee, I would say.
Exactly, because you weren't responsible for one department's well-being. You were responsible for organizing conferences, for organizing summer schools and any sort of activities for career talks and mentoring resources. But I don't mean to trivialize the work that we did over there.
No, absolutely not.
But what I'm trying to say is that you can just really spend your time doing a lot, right? We chose to do things in a different way, which was less demanding, and we had more access to resources in terms of we actually had funding. We actually had administrative support. And I feel that really makes so much of a difference, you know. And it's not like, you know, now having been in industry and having been in environments where I see what is possible and the extent of resources that are available to organizations, I just know that, pardon my French, it's bullshit when you say it's not possible. You know, it's like, you don't want to do it. Don't call it impossible.
I think when it comes to funding and money, academia and industry are two separate universes. But maybe we already got straight to the point. I mean, discussing the last minutes, first the positive things of academia, the diversity, of course, this could improve even further. I would say scientific freedom you have to also set the course of your scientific journey yourself at some level, at least. And on the other hand, that if you are exploited in terms of energy, time, you're underpaid massively.
Very sadly.
Of course, there are different chairs. If you go to, at least in Munich, it was like the mechanical engineers, they get a full position. We got
computer science department,
and IT and stuff.
That was like disparity, because like it also reflected the sort of, I don't know if I don't want to like badmouth anyone, because I don't actually know how this sort of distribution of why do computer science PhD students get 100% positions and physics and chemistry have 50% positions, and I heard that a lot of biology students don't have any funding. And from humanities sciences, I don't want to start to talk about it because it gets even worse there. And it just gives a bad feeling about this, because at least from my perspective, some point I felt I'm less valuable than other student who is doing their PhD in another subject, and this just didn't felt fair. And I kind of want to just recognize the fact that we already had it so much better than so many other PhD students. I mean,
in my opinion, I had a wonderful PhD experience. It was a
and
great
not
chair.
just
it was a
experience,
great
but the funding. For instance, if you're a PhD student in the UK, I know that by default you do not have funding. You do not have social security, health insurance, pension, all this stuff that made our that freed up so much mental space, that I don't have to worry that much about rent or that much about, it was ridiculous. Remember, we recently saw this post in which the stipend of someone working in the UK was just so ridiculous. It was
like 4,000 something.
It was £18,000, which I know that can be a lot, but which is probably a lot if you come from a place like India, which is where a lot of people are doing their PhDs. But the thing is, if your rent is like £1,000 a month, then you're basically left with maybe negative money at the end of the year, And we at least had it a little bit better off. But then again, you could be paying to do your PhD, which is also a thing in the UK. You do not get any funding. You actually pay a tuition fee and whatever sort of thing. And then on the other hand, you could be in places.
But this is then also being exclusive, because then science or doing a PhD is like a very expensive hobby.
Absolutely.
Kind of. And
yes.
If you have the money, then for sure you can do it.
Yes.
But if you don't have the money but are equally smart and clever and have scientifically great ideas whatsoever, then you're left out because you don't have the money or the funding for it.
Now you can begin to see the appeal of industry a little bit, right?
Exactly. That's where I want to draw this, because the flow of this talk naturally goes in this direction, and I can see also the anger and the frustration in your eyes. So maybe I ask directly. So these were probably the main reasons why you at one point said, okay, I'm gonna leave the academic system.
No. The thing is, I did not want to leave the academic system. But the thing is, in order to not leave the academic system, you have to be incredibly organized. You have to be incredibly focused. You have to be really competitive, At the point of my life where I was in, when I was finishing my PhD, I did not have access to full parts of, let's say, my being, okay? I was going through a hard time. I had a breakdown at that point of my life where I still hadn't finished my PhD, and I felt I just did not have it in me to finish, And this was such a startling feeling for me, because during my PhD, I felt like, oh my God, this feels as natural as breathing, Doing everything felt so natural. Then I hit a mental health barrier that kind of took it away from me. I felt sapped. And then I realized, in order for me to do a postdoc, I need to be making applications. I need to be finishing up my thesis. I need to be writing up for grants. I need to be applying for visas. I need to be doing so much. I don't know where I'm going to end up, what my life is going to look like, but it was not possible for me to do all those things at that time. It was hard for me to even just survive on a day-to-day basis, okay? I don't want to say that it was because of the stress of the PhD. It was a lot of things that I was naturally going through. And this can happen with anyone. And it happened to me at the end of my PhD. So let's say most of the work that I had to do was already done. It can happen to you in the beginning. It can happen to you when you enter it. You could be in any sort of frame of mind when you're in academia. If you're fully functional and everything, then it's easier for you. But if I did not have access to all of my cognitive abilities anymore, it seemed like almost a Herculean task. And it just felt easier to go through the process of trying to look for a job in industry, because there were a lot more positions. There were, of course, I didn't have to write up grants for it. I could make applications to a lot of places. I could just try to describe what I could bring to the place, and then have some sort of hopeful security and have some sort of mental space to be able to recover and not be constantly stressed about, I need to write this paper, otherwise I'm not going to get a tenure track position. Or I need to be finishing this, I need to be answering this in this time and this time. I mean, you have to do a lot of stuff in industry, and of course you need to be able to deliver and perform. And of course the thing is that if you don't deliver and perform at one place, it's okay. Maybe you just go to another place, okay? But in academia, it is going to be all interconnected. Your previous step is going to very strongly determine the next step that is available to you.
And especially the insecurity you mentioned, that you're on a non-permanent position basically all the time until you are at some kind of tenure track or professorship or whatever, and these positions are super rare, and this just blocks so much headspace. How do I pay the rent?
Yes,
what is in 6 months? And your contract is running out, but the work isn't finished yet. Then
and then you're on to the next thing, and you still owe a lot of results and papers to the previous thing, and it's like there's the constant debt in there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's so much pressure, I could not take that at that point. Then having transitioned to industry, how
long did it take you? So let's say from you submitted and defended your thesis, then you started...
I submitted and defended in August 2021, and then I started my job in October 2021.
Oh, so quite fast, yeah.
Yes, so the thing was
You already applied for industry jobs while writing the thesis?
Yes, I did, because for me, it was necessary to do that because as a foreigner, my ability to stay on, if I wanted to, in Germany, I no longer had an Aufenthaltstitel, like a permission to work and stay beyond my PhD contract. After that, after my visa for that duration ended. So this actually takes us into a different dimension altogether. The visas and your ability to be in a certain place. After that, I had 3 months to look for another job. If not, I could no longer stay in Germany.
And I guess you had barely support from the chair or from the university for your visa application.
I do not want to say that, because I actually talked to our advisor for potentially doing a postdoc in the group, and he offered me a position at the reactor where you were.
The reactor means the neutron research facility in Munich.
At the FRM2, which is where we have a lot of research and development at the group happening as well. And he gave me the support. But the thing is, I told him that I am looking out for other positions as well. And I really appreciate this offer that you have given me. And then I knew that if I took this research position at the reactor, it would have been much harder for me.
You're back in the game, so to say.
I still had to kind of be doing all those things that I was unable to do at that point. The thing is, I didn't know what industry would ask from me. I knew what academia was. So I didn't know what I was going to step in for, okay? But the thing is, it just felt like, okay, it's going to be a new thing. I'm going to figure it out, okay? Yeah. I'm going to be a newbie, but I'm going to figure it out. So the fact was, I had to look for jobs already. And this is the case with a lot of students that come from abroad. It's also the case for a lot of students who are already from Germany or from Europe.
But it's good. It's easier for them to look for a job.
You do not have to kind of leave the country if you you don't have to leave the country if you don't find a job, you know. So the stakes were relatively high for me. So I had to look for a job, and I could have started in September, but I talked to the HR department of the company, and I asked them if it was possible to start in October, and they said yes, that's totally fine. And it was so valuable for me just to have this 1 month
security,
to have that security, like, oh yes, everything's figured out and I have 1 month. month,
Yeah.
you know? And honestly, it sounds like so little.
It's a very strange feeling.
Yeah. It's like I finished my PhD, I have my next job sorted out, and I have 1 month vacation.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's so little, but honestly,
I totally get
to a young person who's like still on their process to figure life out, it was like I could breathe, you know?
Yeah. I felt the same. I mean, I stayed in academia. I did a postdoc after my PhD, and I defended 1 week before you, also in August. And just the feeling to so the PhD is done. Yeah, you submitted, you defended, everything is finished. Yeah, you really did this.
Yeah,
it's a great feeling. And having the next position as a postdoc already safe, which of course it's a limited contract. It goes for 2 years, and I mean it's ridiculous because the main task I'm doing right now is writing a grant for the next position.
Yeah,
but actually I should do research and science for this topic I am now working on.
Yeah.
But I totally get the feeling. You're so relieved you achieved a major milestone with the PhD, and the next at least 2 years for me and for you, a permanent position in industry is safe. This is a feeling I never felt it before. And it was really great. It was a really good time back then. This month, August and September last year. Great, yeah, cool. And when you started then your industry job in October, you said?
In October, that's right.
So how was the first day? How was the process you applied, you had an interview, I guess. Apparently it went well.
I had several interviews actually. It was a long process. I think I applied for that job in the end of March. It was almost April. And I finally knew I had it in August, you know.
Oh,
it was a long process.
Yeah.
I had, of course, applied for other jobs at the same time. And I had, acceptances from different places. And then I just kind of talked to some people to kind of compare the different offers that I had. And it just seemed like a lot of people just thought that the job that I finally took was probably going to be the most beneficial and exciting for me. So I kind of took everyone's advice and took that position.
Who is everyone?
This was my family, some friends, some of the more experienced professional members in my community that I know of. So like some of my uncles and aunts who themselves are in industry positions, who know how industry work and stuff. Some people who were already working for these companies. I have to say not all of the advice for this position were positive, but it just felt like, okay, this is gonna be cool, so let's give it a go. And I did.
You also asked for advice at the chair in the academic system?
I did. I kind of I actually talked to a lot of people from our group who had graduated and were working for different places. I told them that here is what I am looking for, and these are the various offers that I have. What do you think? What is your experience? And everyone kind of gave me a different perspective on things, right?
It's quite cool. Yeah.
For instance, I spoke to Dr. Nitin Saxena and Dr. Nuri Hon, Dr. Jenny Lebert, Dr. Johannes Schliff, Dr. Franziska Löhre. Like all of these people that we worked together with, we had so much fun with, and they were now in these professional positions. And they told me of their experiences. They actually helped me and guided me through the process of getting these my applications done. So
and these people you just named, so these were all PhD colleagues of us, and now all work in industry.
In industry, right,
so
right.
None of them stayed in academia.
Right, and the thing is that they've already been there, you know. They know what it is. They know what are the differences. So I actually remember exchanging messages with Johannes, and I was like, okay, so, what do you feel is the difference between industry and academia?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember he said...
Perfect questions. Now, you're asking the questions.
No, I am telling you the answers I received when I was asking these questions from our friends and colleagues. And Johannes told me, it's really great, and I have I do a lot of work that I'm good at. It's a very specific job that I have, You do not have the independence to direct the project the way you did in academia, mm-hmm. because you owned it and you decided how it was going to go.
Yeah.
Now you're a member of something which is like so big, and you're like a block in it, and you have a specific function and role, and you need to fulfill that for the larger organism to function. Okay? He said, I have a lot of free time apart from work, not like my PhD where I was working overtime for hours that I wasn't paid for, which is actually normal, but no, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. Just because it is that way is not an excuse. And I mean, it also happens in industry that you work overtime, you're not compensated for it. It happened a lot with the place that I was working at, but it was normalized, It was like the expectation, so to say. Mm-hmm. The expectation is that you're overworked, that you're a workaholic. The expectation is that you're outgoing, that you're an extrovert, and all of those things.
Okay, so that actually sounds similar to the academic system.
It is. No, the thing is, it might be different. Like, the place that I worked for is notoriously well known for you not having a work-life balance, Mm. But there are other places that take much better care. For instance, Johannes and all these other people that work for Infineon always tell you about all the support and work-life balance that you have. Yeah. Okay, you talk to a person who's working for Amazon or Tesla or any of these other places, they're going to tell you they have a very different culture.
But the good thing, actually, it's nothing good about these companies you just named, but at least the good thing is that you know it beforehand, and then you can say, okay, then rather I'm applying for Infineon rather than for Tesla or Amazon. If you go to a chair, we applied for this PhD position at TUM in the physics department, and I just finished my master thesis. I knew nothing about now I'm going through a different chair, and I see the lab is looking very nice. The offices are big, everyone has this large desk, there's and if you talk to them, you have a feeling, they are mentally stable, they're not overworked, they're looking healthy. Now you know all these things, but you didn't know back then when you finished your master and you started a PhD position, and you could basically you could have ended up anywhere. And then it's hard to stop a PhD or to and start somewhere new, because you will be blamed, not your supervisor. And then you're always applying as a PhD student who already so to say failed another PhD position. And then this is hard.
That's actually like really sad, right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, it has nothing to do with you.
And nothing to do with you.
Do you remember Dr. Kerstin Wienhold? Yeah. She was a monster. She was a paper monster. Yeah. She was one of the most prolific. And this is the individual that I mentioned had a child at home. And she was able to finish off papers and design covers and do all these graphics and have a kid at home and have a life. We had all of these evenings where we hung out together in our girl gang, and she was there and she was like the life of the party, and it was like holy shit, inspiring person. Holy shit, like how the fuck does she do it? It's like you're a superwoman.
Absolutely.
And not just her, there were all these other colleagues that we have. Dr. Dr. Chia Sin Ko, Dr. Jiazhen Kang, and we had in future Dr. Christina Geiger and Dr. Anna Elena Oxhel, and they were like, it was just amazing because you had this sense of we're in a special position as women in this department, as women in this chair, working together with this professor who has very high expectations from you. And it was nice to be like understood, especially as women who maybe had different sort of bents of mind than all our male colleagues, you know. And of course, we hung out with our male colleagues as well, and things were different, you know. You had very different quality of conversations and very different quality of interactions. There it was more about like kind of hanging out, having fun. When you were together with your girl gang, it was more about solidarity, support, and like you've got this, and you know, here, what can we do to make you feel better and everything. So I am so thankful for all the friends and colleagues that the PhD journey gave me the privilege of interacting with, and the friendship, the lifelong support that I attain out of it, because it was like an experience that you were taking together, you know. And I don't know, maybe it's different at different places, but I felt that in the research group, everyone kind of cared for one another. And that was so special.
Yeah,
it didn't matter what you were doing, what you were going to do next, where you came from, how you were like. People were there for you. Yeah. In industry, where I was at, everyone was so, or I don't know. I now I'm going to talk from my experience. But in different places will have different work culture and different environments and different ways, different sort of employees that make up the culture and the expectation at a place. But the place where I worked was breathless, you know. There was every moment, every minute of time was over busy. Yeah. There was no time for you to really kind of connect with your peers at a personal level. At a lot of times I felt like it kind of programmed you to be in a certain way that actually made that very limited. It was like a rare occasion where you did that. And the expectation was that all your interactions were so transactional, you know. We need to get this done, and we need to get this done by tomorrow or by today, or okay. That it didn't feel like you were really connecting with someone. That felt like a very vacuous and extracting experience for me. And I missed this sort of like genuine connection that I had. And I kind of want to point out that it wasn't the case with everyone at industry. There were individuals in there that kind of were there for you, would make time for you. But it was recognized as, this is special, you know. This is not like something that we usually do. And it wasn't like, we're making time for you and this is an exception. But you recognize that behavior as special. And it just felt like, okay, this place is offering me long-term security and is offering me a pay or whatever. It's taking a lot of work from me, and I'm overworked, and I really don't feel like I have work-life balance. I have 2 or 3 people I think are nice to work with, but every day, it was my experience, felt like a grind because of the environment and the culture, you know. If I don't have anything to complain about the work that I did, but I had huge problems with the environment that I was in. And I want to point out, it wasn't the lack of diversity, because there were people from all sorts of places, and they were all kind of like highly educated and talented people and everything. They were culturally diverse, but professionally and behaviorally the same.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
so it was like, whenever you were talking to someone, it was like almost talking to the same person who was displaying similar behavior with a different face.
Okay.
And that felt like, and the thing is, you were molded to be that way. The expectations and the way, in order for you to be at that place, was for you to behave that way.
You think you can prepare for something like that? Maybe, did you have the opportunity to talk to the employees?
I did, but the thing is, you can talk, but as long as you don't go there and experience it, you really are not prepared for what is coming. Because employees are gonna like always like put together a nice front, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I was interviewed by the nicest people on the planet, so I was like reassured. And
it's like front end, back end.
yeah, and it was like, you're gonna put your shiniest best.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what I saw. And then when I went there, I saw, okay, this is how it works internally. And maybe I should have known better or whatever, but...
I mean, if you come out from a totally different environment, a caring, supportive environment, at least between the PhD students and colleagues, master bachelors, it's hard to make this transition into a totally different environment.
Absolutely.
But still, I mean, is there...
But I do know that it's not this way at other companies. For instance...
for sure there are. I mean, this is now a specific example and your experience, but I'm sure these are experiences others have as well. So
perhaps, yes.
You think there are some skills you acquired during your PhD in this environment that you can use now to improve?
I acquired a lot of skills in my PhD that helped me with the work.
With the work in industry?
In industry, yes.
Okay.
All the scientific skills, the analytical skills, the teamwork skills, dealing with collaborators in industry. Your collaborators are vendors, project management. There's a lot of stuff that I learned. What I did learn also during my PhD was to deal with people from different sorts of mindsets and backgrounds. What I wasn't really prepared for was how to deal with this sort of cultural aggression, you know? And I don't know, I don't know what prepares you for it. And I want to say that I did not want to become like that. So I did not want to be molded by the surroundings that I was in, because that is not who I am. Yeah. And so I always behaved in the way that I usually would, which was always recognized as, okay, this is different or whatever, or whatever, this person's slightly whatever. I don't know how it was perceived, and I do not want to put my perception of what others' perception on it was. Yeah. But I did not want to be prepared for that. Or rather, I did not want to be in an environment that would be like that. My biggest sorrow from this experience is I was unable to be myself. I was unable to bring my full self and what I had to offer. And I always had to constrain it, you know? So I didn't feel like I was functioning fully.
Yeah.
And it felt as if it was appreciated by some people, but on large it was like, yeah, okay, well, we need to get this done. It was...
In the end, your job is then...
your job is making money for the company.
The profit is more important than your will.
Your profit, the profit of the place is more important than anything that you bring. You're replaceable. You're not special for anything that you bring. Of course, if you're like, if you fit into that culture and are leading that culture and it is idealized by other people, then maybe you have a very successful career.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm like sabotaging my opportunities saying all of this, but companies say that this is what we believe in, but it would be really fucking great if that could actually be translated into your actual policies.
Yeah.
And what you do on a day-to-day basis and how you correct or promote behavior which bends a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, one has to say that this your experience were special in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you already said, I think there are also a lot of companies out there who try at least to incorporate exactly this into their working policy.
Yes.
And try to create
a good work environment.
Yeah.
And support you
to create a supportive, creative environment while still making profit. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it to make money as a company, but parts of this profit for sure should then be reinvested in the employees and their working environment.
I mean, I want to push it a little further. Why parts of the profit? The fact that you made profit is because your workers did all that work and delivered something that was better, It is a prize for the workers and it should go to them. Why just parts of it? Why should some people be keeping a larger share than the others, Why should some work be more important than the others? It's like how we talked about a computer science PhD paying more than a physics PhD. And I mean, that is opportunity for you to invest in the workforce training. And I want to point out something. Some places in industry require you to do very specific things and in very specific timelines that actually that present a significant barrier for you to be diversifying your skill set, because you have no time, you have no access to resources. Anything you do on your personal time, which is not paid, and you're so fucking overworked in some places. Okay, like I had poor work-life balance that significantly. I was like, fuck, I didn't go to academia because I was like, this is so stressful, and now I'm in this other place which is like everyone is smiling all the time and everyone feels like, whoa, this is great, and I'm having so much fun and it's so exciting and we're doing this and that, and I felt like, wait, am I an outsider over here? Like, why do I feel so differently, And I was like, okay, this is just how I feel, and I don't want to pretend that I'm having a great time. I had a great time in terms of the things that I learned there and I saw there, and some of the people I worked with. I want to especially point out some of the individuals I worked with. There was Dr. Christoph Erben, who was, I have the privilege of having started my professional industry career with one of the most knowledgeable, professional and well-rounded managers that I could have asked for. I worked with Dr. Milan Padilla, who did his bachelor at the physics department in TUM at the Walter Schottky, and was just one of the brightest mentors and one of the most caring mentors that there ever was. There was Yvonne Su, and there were quite a few individuals, but I want to kind of underline that there were some people who really, really made me appreciate my time there. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to experience that part of life, I guess.
Yeah.
And for the mentorship and for the guidance as someone who was in their first job, and for the reassurance that you're doing fine, you're doing well, don't worry about it, because in that sort of environment it was so hyper competitive.
Yeah, and then this is super valuable if someone tells you something like this.
And especially someone that you look up to, and someone who has done it, who's achieved it, who's out there. It meant the world to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm forever grateful for this positive support and feedback.
And this is what makes you then stronger or more experienced in the long term, which you can use now to navigate
whatever comes in the future.
Yeah. You know what's coming in the future already?
I have an idea, but I think I will wait out on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Episode 2 then.
Let's hope not. Let's hear from a lot of other people. Yeah.
Great. So you have any tips or advice for PhD students who are unsure, staying in academia, making the transition to industry?
Yeah.
I mean, I know everyone is. There is no general statement about this.
Yeah, we have throughout this process discussed the pros and cons of both places. I think that your unique position, which is also strongly determined by the material basis of your requirements, which could be a visa, salary, maybe you need to support your family, your future ideals, your view on what you'd like to do, how you'd like to contribute. You're gonna know, you're gonna talk to people, you're gonna find out. You don't have to find out the right answer at the first time. You give it a go. It doesn't work, try something else. Academia, industry, I'm quite sure that there's a lot more than academia industry. Maybe we're gonna be the architects of it. We're gonna be the architects of a future. And I mean, it would be so cool if there was like better collaboration between academia and industry as well. There are some academic or industry positions or industrial academic positions and stuff, but you gotta figure it out for yourself, and no one can make that decision for you. Or whatever decision you take, there is no right or wrong decision.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let your friends bully you. Don't let someone tell you. I did that. I bullied some people who went to industry. I was like, what? I always thought that, you're so bright that you would continue in academia. And then I was like, I was there in that place. So do what you need to do to hopefully flourish and reach the best version of yourself that you can. And if it doesn't give you happiness, then question yourself. Just because you invested so much time into one place, it is called sunken cost fallacy for a reason, because it is a fallacy. Just because you invested so much time and effort into one thing and it didn't work out doesn't mean that you still have to continue doing it. I think building courage and resilience and the ability to correct yourself if you find yourself lost is really, really a valuable journey that I am on, that I've been helped by some of the most valuable people in my life. My brother Shashwat Pratap, my friends, Lucas Kreutzer, who's here in front of me. We have I have all these friends: Julian Heger, Sebastian Groth, Tobias Wittmann, Priyanka Rajkakati, Apurva Srivastav, Antoine Voidela, Jonathan Slack, Monica Eisenhardt. I have all of these friends and family. My mother, my strongest anchor, and my partner Akshat Sharma, who are constantly there for me. And then it is no longer like an academia industry thing. It is your life, go with it, and be kind with yourself, because it's hard for the world to think of you as the center. But yeah, just do what feels natural.
Perfect last statement. Sana, was so nice to have you on this podcast.
Thank you so much, Lucas. I want to say that this is the first time ever I've done something like this. It is so special for me. I know that sometimes doing a podcast is like, oh my God, not another podcast. But I feel the opportunity that you provide for others to just talk their experiences, and for the others to self-evaluate as they talk about themselves, has a lot of value. And maybe no one listens to this, and maybe it's just something that we did one afternoon in Berlin.
Then if it's like this, then we had a very nice conversation, and this is
and I am forever thankful and will value this experience. It was very exciting. I was very nervous, but I had so much fun. Thank you so much for this, Lucas.
Now I'm a little bit blushing. Sana, it was an honor. Thanks. Take
Likewise.
Care. And maybe see you on a second episode.
Hopefully.
At some point. Cool. All right, then take care. And to our listeners, if we have some, take care as well, and see you on the next episode.